Welcome and/or welcome back to the channel. My name is Sarah. I like to talk about books in my basement, and I'm going to talk about some of the recent books I have read that have some very reluctant heroes. We're going to start off the top of the list with the indie book that I read recently. Completely sucked me in. Had no idea this would happen. Ended up loving it. I had high hopes, but not this high. That's Apocalypse Tamer, and this is by Maxim J. Durand. I can't speak today, clearly. I've been with a 4-year-old all day, so maybe that's got something to do with it. This was fantastic. So this is about Basil, who is living out in the French countryside. He doesn't want anything to do with anyone, basically. He's just chilling, relaxing with his cat Plato, and, living his best life on his own. When the apocalypse happens, sort of, the system, I'll explain in a minute, the system descends on the world, and Basil, in a sleepy moment of, this is just a dream, picks the class Tamer. So from there, he ends up forced onto this quest to stop first it's goblins from attacking his home, and then he realizes he has to go to the dungeon to stop these goblins. And what is a dungeon, and why is it out in the countryside, and where did these things come from, and what is the system, and where did it come from, and what does it have to do with this weird tech corporation? And it just unravels from there. I really enjoyed this. I loved Basil. He's not the hero I expected, but he's the hero we needed. He is very much a kind of unlikable in some aspects, but also I can kind of see where he's coming from and why he does what he does. I don't know that I would want to hang out with him, but I really enjoyed reading his perspective and what happened to him, and I especially love that he's a tamer, because that sort of pet class dynamic is my favorite thing. I am always the pet class. Always the pet class. If I'm not the druid, I'm the pet class. So this was great. Another huge plus is that his first tame, of course, is Plato, his cat. Plato is sassy, and all of the animals and creatures he encounters in this, they talk. So Plato is very sassy. He wants to become a saber-toothed cat. That does not go quite how he wants it to. And the second creature that he tames is this giant scorpion named Bugsy. And the giant scorpion reminds me very much of the Centiskorch Pokemon from the newest gen. I'll put a picture here. And that is one of my favorite Pokemon. Don't really know how that happened, but I used one in every single time I played that game, the newest one it was in, and I love Centiskorch now. I think was it Scarlet and Violet? Or the game before that? I can't remember which one. There's so many, even I can't keep track. But a fantastic little book. I say little, it's not that little. There's another picture of Bugsy, but this is phenomenal. I really had a good time with it, and I do intend to pick up the second one. I have already started it on my Kindle, and I'm going to finish it through. I also know that all of his books kind of take place in an interconnected universe, so I'm very much looking forward to that. He has a standalone that I'm going to pick up as well. I think we saw that character briefly in that one, so fun. It was a blast. I laughed out loud so many times. Another funny and this one is more isekai and traditionally published, is How to Become the Dark Lord and Die Trying by Django Wexler. And this is about, and it's been Davy. I was going to say it's been a few weeks since I've read it. This is about Davy, who was isekai. She was portaled into this world and was told, you are the one that's going to save this world from the Dark Lord. She's like, okay, cool. She goes through this quest. She goes all through this. She leads the armies. She meets the prince. She does the thing, and then she dies. She gets reborn at the same place at the beginning of the quest. You're the one that's going to save this world from the Dark Lord. She's like, okay, cool. So I just restart if I fail. So it's just kind of like a save. This happens for tens of thousands of years. And Dobby is like, I think I'm finished. I think, if you can't beat them, join them. And at the beginning of this book, she wakes up again after being beaten and tortured and, destroyed. And she's just like, I'm done. It's been thousands of years of this. I've been trapped in this cycle. I remember every single time someone sliced me open or toyed with me or hurt me. I'm going to be the Dark Lord, and I'm going to take over the world. And the first thing she does is she brutally murders the wizard who comes to tell her, "You're the chosen one," and she stalks off into the woods. Now, because she is reborn each time she dies, the beginning of the book, we see her kind of save scumming. She kind of will go do a thing to learn what's going on. She'll fail, she'll die, she'll be reborn. She's like, okay, that was just 2 days worth of work. Let me go redo it. And she redoes it. And as we get deeper and further into the story, you realize she can't keep doing that because she's going to possibly lose or make the wrong choice, or her luck's going to run out and something's going to go a little bit different that day, and it becomes more risky. And not only that, in the latter half of the book, we start to see her grapple with the fact that she is making choices as the, new Dark Lord. She wants to be the Dark Lord, but she knows all those people that she is going to possibly hurt and or kill as the Dark Lord on the human side. So she's kind of grappling with the morality of what's happening, and is what she's doing manipulation? And it actually starts to get some kind of heavy moral questions going on that I really liked. But besides all that, it was just hilarious. It's gruesome, it's gory, and Davy has the crudest sense of humor that I have read in a very long time. I 100% chalk that up to her being slightly unhinged after dying and reincarnating over and over and over and over again and going through such horrendous things. She does talk about some of them, and it's bad. But this I loved. I loved it so much. It came out at the end of last month. I read an arc and then bought my own copy, so clearly I loved it, and I very highly recommend it. And another reluctant hero, we have Lisbeth from An Easy Death. This is so out of my comfort zone. I got an email from Saga Press, and this was one of the options. I read the description. I was like, okay, I'll give it a shot. I've read Charlaine Harris before. I read her Sookie Stackhouse novels as a kid and really enjoyed them. I thought, I'll try her new stuff. Why not? This is a alternate history fantasy Wild West style story with Russian wizards and gunmen and cars. It's off the walls. So from what I can remember and gather is somewhere in the past FDR was assassinated. This triggered a break in the US. So you have different factions, like Texoma is Texas and part of Mexico, I think, and then a few other states, and then you have the states allied to the north. And at the same time, Rasputin and that Russian family that he was part of, Alexander, I think, they, instead of getting massacred, flee to the US and they set up camp in California. So you have a whole section on that coast of the US that is full of Russian folks. And the Russians, when they come, it's Grigory, Rasputin Grigory is what I think his name was. They're called Grigories. They bring wizards. The magic is real, and he brings his wizards with him, and so the wizards start to come into the world, and that's where the magic comes from. And our main character in this is Lisbeth, and she is a gunny. She is a very simple girl who lives out in like the outback, and she runs people from the border of I think it's Mexico up into the States. She helps escorts people across the desert. She doesn't have very high education. Her mom's a teacher, but she didn't want anything to do really with education. She wanted to get out and do things. Her voice in this is the strongest thing. It reminds me very much of the voice in True Grit. If you've read that, this will feel very familiar to you. It's very old school Western in style. Fantastic voice. It, like I said, did take some getting used to, but I really loved it by the end. And this is very gritty. Dark and gritty in the first part. In the first chapters, her entire crew is killed and she witnesses a woman getting raped. Rape is a constant threat because of the type of place she lives in. The rapist is, I'm going to go ahead and tell you, killed quite brutally. Revenge, if you want to call it that, is had, and she moves on. But she gets caught up with Eli and Paulina, who are looking for the descendants of a specific Russian wizard. And Lisbeth, has ties to that man, but she doesn't tell them. And she is escorting them around while they look for these direct blood relatives of this man. And everyone wants to kill them. Everyone tries to kill them. And they have to magic and gun their way out of it. That was a really long explanation, but gosh, this has got a lot in it for such a short little book, and I really, really enjoyed it. I finished it, and I looked at my husband and I said, well, you're going to have to buy me the next book in this series, because that was great. Not what I expected, not my usual pickup, but I really enjoyed it. And I do look forward to the second book, and I will have to say the new covers very much capture the vibe of this book way better than the old ones, which I'll put the old cover for this one right here, and you'll see what I'm saying. This is gritty Western style fantasy, and this is a much better cover. That is it. 3 reluctant heroes in my recent reads that I thought I'd tell you all about. Let me know if you've read any of these or if you're interested. What are your thoughts? I will be back again. I think my next one will be a romance recent reads. I have some romantic books to talk about. That's it for me today. Like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. And I'll talk to you guys again soon. Hopefully a little bit better. See ya.